What is going on? We have some severe weather going on in the United States right now, and I'm here to talk about where and when it is going to happen. So let's get into it. Starting off with the Storm Prediction Center, so we have a day one marginal risk for North and South Dakota. This risk is going to be mainly in the evening through overnight and is going to be moving east, the storms. And looking at the day two, we have a slight risk for mainly the same region, except we have Wisconsin and mainly Minnesota. I think the threat's going to be all of those, the northern plains are going to be in this threat. We have a 2% risk of tornadoes, so definitely got to keep an eye out. But the main threat is going to be wind and hail. And for the day three, we have a slight risk for yet again the northern plains. This time it's going to be more North Dakota, and we have a 15% chance of severe weather. We do not get the hail, wind, or tornado risk yet. Looking at the reflectivity for today's storms, we are going to have storm ignition around evening or late afternoon, and these storms are going to be moving straight east through North Dakota. We're going to have more storms in South Dakota as well. Looking at the temperature now, it is going to be very hot, especially in western, North, and South Dakota, and that is really going to give these storms the strength they need to produce some damage. And looking at the dew point, and if you don't know what dew point is, it is pretty much a measure of humidity. It's definitely going to be up there. The dew point is going to be high in the low 70s. Looking at the CAPE, which stands for convective available potential energy, which is pretty much energy for the storms, and there's going to be a ton as you see these storms just consume all of the energy. And these storms, they're going to be very strong. They're going to have a ton of lightning. As you guys see the lightning flash rate, it's going to be very electric storms. Very, very electric storms, yeah. Looking at day two's risk, we are going to have storms that are going to, it's going to be the same system. The storms are going to kind of develop in Minnesota, maybe as early as North Dakota. They're going to be moving east, southeast. Temperature for today, or tomorrow I should say, for that day, it's going to be hot, not as hot where the storms are going to be as yesterday's. And the dew point is going to be very, very high. It's going to be mid to upper 70s in some parts of Minnesota. And the CAPE, which again is the energy in the atmosphere, is going to be extremely high. And these storms are just going to consume the energy, and they are going to be very, very strong because of that. Significant tornado parameter and supercell composite. They are up there, so do not be surprised if you see a supercell / tornado or two. The lightning flash rate, again, these storms are going to be very strong and they are going to be very electric, producing a lot of lightning. Moving on to day three, we cannot see that far out to get a very accurate prediction, but we can see far enough out. There's going to be a ton of energy that these storms are going to be consuming. Again, it's in the same region as the day 1 and 2, the northern plains. These storms are going to be moving east fairly quickly. If we look at the temperature on these storms, where these storms are going to form, it's going to be hot yet again. You guys are going to be experiencing some major heat, but these storms should cool down the atmosphere just a little bit, or I shouldn't say just a little bit, a lot, as you can see on this chart right, or model right here. The dew point is going to be high again in the low 70s, which is going to cause these storms to be strong as well. Looking at the significant tornado parameter, we are gonna have a tornado threat with these storms, so do not be surprised if you get a tornado warning or two, and be cautious about that. Looking at the heat wave that's going on in the world right now, or I shouldn't say the world, the U.S., especially California right now. they're going to be in 120 degrees. Very, very hot. Looking at tomorrow's heat, looking at tomorrow's heat, hot again in California, very hot. But we also have this heat coming up in Kansas and Oklahoma, which is going to be a heat wave. Looking at 2 days, which will be Sunday's heat. Temperature, again, California is going to be very hot, and this Midwestern heat is going to stay there. The next day, the Midwestern heat is going to stay there again. They're going to be experiencing very hot temperatures, looking like above 100 degrees likely, 110 maybe. And then it looks like the days further, the heat in the Midwest is going to cool down a little bit. Around the California, it's always just going to stay hot there. But you Midwest people should get a break in about a week or so. So that is what it's looking like for the future temperature of the United States. That is going to be all for this video. I hope you guys can be a little bit more aware of the weather going around in the U.S. now, and be tuned for more and more updates in the future, and have a great weekend.